Thanks, Doug. So, having heard from Jim and Doug, I first started whitewater paddling on the Ottawa, actually learning how to kayak at Esprit with Jim Coffey's group, and then made my way up to the Kipawa one year for the festival, where I met Pete Karwacki at the bottom of Rock and Roll, where they were talking about this issue, and happened to mention this thing called the NWPA, the Navigable Waters Protection Act, and had they been pursuing the Minister of Transport. And he said, oh, that hadn't really come up yet. So I sent him a long email after, and that was the start of the saga for me. And you can appreciate now, having heard from both Jim and Doug, when they found out that I was a paddler who happened to practice law, that I was going to be their ticket to start this fight. And having listened to how persuasive Jim is, you can see how hard he is to say no to. So that started our 2 long years together. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with this transportation committee, and put it in the context of, there are those listening to this and looking at it will say, well, that's a marginal group and they're just scared, they're engaging in scare tactics. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about the mindset of one of the bigwigs in the NWPA, a man by the name of David Osbalditson, talking about how he views his role protecting our waterways and our navigation rights. And this is how he describes what they do at the NWPA under the Act as it currently stands. So these aren't my words, these are his. He said, "There's very little we deny or refuse. I think that's the main thing. If somebody has a need to put something in the water, over the water, under the water, or through the water, and has a valid need to do it, we'll try our utmost to get it done." And then he finishes, "This would streamline the regulatory process by eliminating the need to determine the navigability of a waterway. This is a move that many resource developers and rural municipalities have requested and would wholeheartedly support." So this is the perspective coming from a public servant who's charged with the duties of being a neutral, to respect and have regard for the entire public interest. And I'm just wondering if this collection of paddlers out there, if any of you heard your interests being represented in those statements by Mr. Osbalditson. No. So what about this committee? Are they considering your interests? This committee sent out select invitations to industry and called it a community, basically a stakeholder information gathering of information to find out what the public thinks, but then only went to a select portion of that public. And then, after having done so, there was much furor raised by Doug about not having been, that no paddling organizations were invited. And somebody asked the question about paddling organizations, and after not having invited any of us, someone from the committee said, well, they haven't really expressed any interest. So, my question to you is, are you interested? Yeah. And I see today as very much just the beginning of the mobilization of what have formerly been diverse groups, even here in Ottawa. I'm a member of the Coureur de Bois. There's another paddling organization in town called Ottawa River Runners. One group's focused on slalom, another's focused more on whitewater and open boating. Then you have your fishermen, your hunters, people who enjoy the outdoors. This is the kind of change that can really mobilize and bring people together to really talk about what's at stake. And what's at stake here is really the future of the country as we know it today. Do you want your children to paddle the rivers you paddled? Or do you want to take them to the Museum of Civilization to show them pictures of where you paddled? That's what this is about. So I applaud all of you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you at future rallies until these people crawl back under their rocks that think they're going to change this act and take away our heritage rights. Thank you.